Hi, this is James O'Keefe. I'm captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party. I want to thank you for watching today's episode of Pirate News. I'm joined today, as usual, by Joe and Steve. Joe is quartermaster and Steve is first officer of the Massachusetts Pirate Party, and you can find us at masspirates.org. And if you want to find these videos, you can check out masspirates.tv, and it'll forward you to this YouTube channel. So how are you two doing today?
Doing fantastic, though. We have a pretty good echo coming from you, buddy.
Dang. Sorry. Thought I fixed that. I'll mute myself while you two talk.
Yeah, things are going fine. Going fine in my neck of the woods.
You know, we could always complain about how things are, but I'm sure my complaints would definitely not even register as a real complaint. That being said, every step, every day, try and make the step in the right direction, try and do the next right thing, which is why today I want to talk about a messed up order where it's unprecedented, where a judge, the Supreme Court order to make ISPs, to make them block entire websites and accused of doing piracy. So, and so really what makes this such a weird case is that in normal law or case law, you have a plaintiff and you have a defendant. And because the defendant, i.e. these specific websites who want to remain anonymous, didn't show up for court, the judge in the case told the ISPs to block them. Now, normally, the ISPs were not listed as either the plaintiff or the defense, and yet they're still being court ordered to do something or a court action by the case, which is just very, very not done. So unless they were like part of the defense, they wouldn't be receiving a court order. So a good example is Roe versus Wade, where there was a clear defendant and a clear plaintiff. This is a little bit less cut and dry.
Yeah, one of the things that, the Tech Dirt article that talks about this case mentioned the judge's name. It doesn't mention which court it was, or at least I haven't been able to find that in the article. I agree, though, the idea that you can have, usually with these sorts of things, someone complains about a website that's, providing access to copyrighted content, and there's a court order for, say, the hosting provider to take down the website, which is, the hosting provider hosts it, the infringer is technically a customer, and you're just saying, you have to stop doing this. But in terms of, like, this goes further, as you were saying, Joe, in that the order says that all internet service providers in the United States must block access to these websites.
Just to clarify real quick, SOPA is the Supreme Court.
No, SOPA was the Stop Online Piracy Act that did not get passed 10 years ago.
Oh, I thank you for the clarification.
You're thinking of SCOTUS.
Yeah.
But one of the questions what the court is, courts are supposed to interpret law, and this seems to be, cutting something new out of whole cloth. Which I don't know enough about law to say whether this will hold up or not. But in the sense that, you know, I'm curious how, if you're going to say that, you know, no ISPs can, you know, allow access to this site, no DNS providers can allow access to this site, no payment providers can provide payment services to these sites, and on and on and on again. Like at one of the basic questions is, how do they get informed about these, you know, this new restriction?
Well, they're going through ICANN. So they're going right after the main ISP hubs and saying you need to block this all from America. So in order to even access these sites, you would have to use a VPN. It's just turn on a VPN and boom, you have access to these sites again. It's not going to stop anybody.
Yeah.
So
Well, it creates a situation like what happened with with the Pirate Bay, where they would go and seized various Pirate Bay domains, and then the Pirate Bay would come up with a new domain, and it was just this kind of whack-a-mole that went on. But yeah, I mean, it isn't just that it goes to ISPs and says block these 3 providers in Israel, who not the United States, right? But it's also payment provider, you can't process stuff, and the company that hosts the data, you can't host it, and you know, domain name registrar, you can't host it, you have to take it away and redirect it to this other page. And what's amazing when you think about that is, think about the First Amendment implications in an analog case where, you know, the judge orders, you know, not only do we pick up all of the newspapers that you're creating, but we destroy your printing press and we force the landlord to kick you out. I mean, could you imagine that would ever fly?
Well, so one of the little details that I think we sort of glossed over is, so the infringing websites were, you know, Israeli websites, so not hosted in this country. They were sued in this country. The defendants never showed up, which, I mean, not terribly surprising. And you know, the court just issued sort of a summary judgment, as in the defendants didn't show up, so we're just going to side in favor of the plaintiffs. Yeah, it's sort of funny how the internet, you know, creates interesting little situations with jurisdictionality like that.
well, they were all these sites were run anonymously. So of course they're not going to show up because they're running it anonymously. They can't even they tried to track these people down and they weren't able to, not even close. We're not even sure if even though these 3 sites were hosted in Israel, we don't know if they're really from Israel. Nobody knows who these people are. And that's the heart of the core of privacy. And so they were never able to serve them, track them down, which part of it to be a legal matter in court is you have to serve the defendants. You have to summon them into court for it to be a legal thing. There's precedent for that. You can't just sue somebody and not serve them. If you serve them and then they refuse to come, that is different. But they never served them.
So another thing we wanted to talk about was apparently so Texas passed a social media law, and there's a bizarre decision by the Fifth Circuit to reinstate the social media law that would, in essence, allow how do we characterize it charitably? I guess we can't characterize it charitably. I mean, it would allow people, it would prevent Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, whatever, from moderating their own content, letting spam and anything else run rampant through their platforms. Thoughts?
Wait, what? So they're going to allow all sorts of spam?
Well, in other words, they basically, Texas says you can't censor social media. So essentially, they can be, the Facebook, Twitter, other social media can be sued for every moderation decision they make. So in the case of, say, the white supremacist who killed 10 people and shot another 3 people at a Buffalo supermarket, and then live streamed what he was doing, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whomever was live streaming it could be like, no, we don't want people to see that. We're just going to shut that down. But this Texas law says, oh no, someone could sue you. A white supremacist could sue you and say, no, keep it up. You have to keep it up.
Yeah, I guess to me, this seems to go into the idea of, compelled speech. Whereas, you're saying people who own or who run their own, Mastodon, et cetera, sites or social media companies like Facebook and Twitter, as a matter of, they are providing services, and sort of as a general rule, they're allowed to they can establish rules for people who use the service. And in this case, you're saying that, well, you can't. You're essentially prohibiting them from. If one of your rules is, you shall not post white supremacist content, that's kind of a corporate decision. And so far, our corporations have been able to, make that kind of determination. Just because a newspaper exists doesn't guarantee that your letter to the editor is going to be published. Yeah, this one seems kind of funny. Someone is just asking for lulls. It's not hard to write a bot army.
4chan trolls activate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, or various governments, let's leave it at that, including our own. no doubt.
Speaking of other terrible corporations, so Trader Joe's has had a mass exodus. It used to be like the #1 place to work. Employees loved it, loved the brand. It was the alternative to Whole Foods. And I guess Trader Joe's, after the pandemic, really started showing their true colors, and their company changed. And so one of the things that kind of like Walmart, are famous for shutting down unions and any dissension whatsoever. And thank you, Massachusetts. You're welcome, world, because we're going to potentially have the first union out of all the Trader Joe's. They're trying to form it. So as pirates, I hope you guys go out and give them your love and help them, give them the support that they need to be that. I think, what was it, happened out in Hadley?
Hadley, Massachusetts, near Amherst.
Well, I'm glad.
Northampton.
To be perfectly honest, I generally shop at another supermarket chain, which is already unionized. But for folks who don't, who are starting from nothing, getting something is an accomplishment. So that's cool.
Yeah, has Walmart actually unionized at least a little bit, or still?
No.
Well, in China, they unionized, and this was sort of, or my understanding was that when they started doing business there, There were worker movements to unionize, and apparently the Communist Party let them happen. They did not stand in the way, and so Walmart, the first unionization of Walmart, as I'm aware, was in China.
So another story that folks have probably been hearing in the news is the drop in baby formula. Baby formula production. So for a background, apparently there's two companies that control 90% of the market. Trump apparently, in his whole Make America Great Again, decided to prevent Canada from shipping its formula to the United States. So one of the particular Abbott, who's the one that had to shut down the plant, which is causing the problems, is that management not only refused to repair dilapidated and failure-prone equipment, they had tech support falsify the returns, which resulted in, I believe, 3 babies dying because of contaminated formula. We don't know how many others were sick because of that. And in the last 3 years, by the way, Abbott has used $5.73 billion of its stock for stock buybacks, of which the largest single quarter was $2.3 billion in March 31st of 2022. So economic concentration kills, and we should end stock buybacks.
On a lighter note on that whole topic, though, we do see a lot of posts on how to make formula on your own. We're going to link some connections on how to make your own baby formula.
I've heard that's okay. I mean, you could send it to me, and I'll share it. But I've heard that's not an easy thing.
Easy
to get all the nutrients in, but
yeah. Yes and no. It's definitely more expensive than the baby formula itself because it's not mass produced, but at least you can control the ratios and make sure that you're getting what your baby needs. So, it's not, but it's better than.
Yeah, and probably a kind of thing where it'd also be good to just check with the pediatrician. Yeah, but I've never had kids, so don't trust me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to put your baby on anything that is not doctor approved. But there are a couple formulas. The one I liked the best was actually all things that were just 100% over the counter. And but definitely talk with your doctor, consult with your doctor, and whatever your medical professionals say is the best is what you should probably do. Each one of us is different and should be treated differently.
So just like people are importing medicine from Canada, are we going to start seeing formula illegally imported from Canada?
Yo, man, I got your baby formula over here, buddy.
I mean, if you can't breastfeed or you stop breastfeeding for whatever reason, it's a lifeline. I remember my kids had it, when they were young, and you got to keep your kids healthy. So.
No.
So with that, are there any other topics we want to discuss?
There was one more topic I want to discuss that was actually a little bit of a lighter note, literally, which has to do with solar panels. There was a university out in Japan that found a way to make solar panels that's actually green and eco-friendly. Not quite as efficient, not going over the 20% efficiency that some of the panels are going on, but I think it was like 16%. but taking out a vastly toxic industrial chemical out of the whole process and still managing to get it up to a decent amount of efficiency that you can power your car with. So hopefully that process gets done a little bit better. So there is some lighter news. We are still making forward steps in making this a better, greener world. And hopefully we can continue to make this a lot better. And we can do this with your help by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Feed the algorithm.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Take care, folks. Bye.